And so this is an official welcome to this peer-to-peer sharing session, webinar of Gender Budget Watchdog Network. And today we will hear the successful stories but also maybe some of the challenges of the organizations from the 7 countries where the Gender Budget Watchdog Network is active at the moment. So that includes Western Balkan countries and Moldova. And so in the first grant call, we had a call for the resilience response monitoring. And so all of the sub-grantees that received the grants, they will present today what were their achievements. And so you can also get an inspiration for some of you maybe who are here and will be implementing the projects in the next phase, or those that will be monitoring also the climate change and the climate financing, because these two topics are very much related. My name is Ivana Petriskova. Just to also, for those who don't know me, I am the program coordinator of the Gender Budget Watchdog Network. And here also today there are the coordinators from each of the country. For those who don't know, then you can check also our website and reach out if you will have more questions related to the program. And without further ado, I would like to invite our first speaker. That would be Women's Association Priroda from Bosnia and Herzegovina, who already did a lot in their community, and they contributed to major changes on the local level, from adopting gender-responsive criteria in agricultural subsidies to securing funding for women victims of domestic violence and war survivors. So I would like to ask Željana to present us what are the major achievements and the research you have done supported with the funding of Gender Budget Watchdog Network.
First of all, good day to all of you. I would like to apologize because I'm very sick and I don't know how much will I be concentrated on presenting all this. I did not want to miss this meeting today because this has to do with some very important things, because we are acting in very small communities and it is very important to sensibilize our municipalities, respectively their budgets, considering that in these small municipalities and budgets, women in general are in agribusiness, respectively agriculture. This is the most important way for economic empowerment of women. Hence, it is very important for municipalities to introduce certain positive measures, respectively raise the awareness in relation to regulations and incentives for agriculture, in a sense to become more transparent and responsible towards the citizens, because as you all know, the budget is the most important tool, and the budget which the citizens themselves, in a sense, are supposed to control as well and allocate. Of course, we are all aware that this is not the case always, but still we are giving our best, in a sense, to introduce and raise the awareness in relation to certain budget lines. And I always stress that it is a great issue that at higher levels these things are not recognized, nor the laws are not amended in helping us in raising awareness in relation to these budgets. Hence, we still have the lack of awareness in relation to budgeting, and therefore at the local level, in fact, we can only raise the awareness of certain budget lines and work on allocating some local measures, respectively rules, incentives and similar, and we cannot influence that these budgets should be programmatic, and then we would be able to know how much do women benefit from this program and men. It doesn't matter in a sense. In other words, to have it with gender statistics as well. However, these budgets are per line, and when you have these lines, you do not know, neither they know nor we can know, and have such indicators and have this data in this manner. I have to add that the Association of Women Maya and Priroda worked, of course, with the assistance of the network and the project. We worked last year on adopting regulation on providing incentives for agriculture in two municipalities, the municipality of Vlasinac and Bratunac. In the municipality of Bratunac, we have adopted new regulation because they did not have at all a regulation on allocating anything for agriculture, while in municipality of Vlasinica they did have this regulation. However, it was not gender responsible. These are small steps, but very important. Now we have adopted regulations with gender responsible criteria. If the holder of a commercial or a non-commercial enterprise receive a bit more points in provision of such incentives, and the registration itself as well. With the registration of businesses, women can receive additional funds from the budget, which is important considering that registration of commercial enterprise, in a sense, does not mean also ownership over soil, the land. Our law is constructed in this way, hence a woman can register commercial or non-commercial enterprise, regardless if she is not owner. And here we are all aware what is the situation with ownership in Western Balkans. In general, women, I think that percentage is around 10%. Women are also owners of the land or owners of the half together with their spouse. Hence, this is very good that women can register these businesses and not being owners. As to these incentives and regulations where we raised awareness, these criteria, it was very important for us that our women in this region in general are dealing with collecting in general raspberries and similar berries, except for in Vlasenica, except for agro businesses in agriculture, in horticulture, and maybe some parts of production. We also have, after the collection, after we changed these regulations, we have received data that we have a bit more women who are registered in these farms, and they also could receive higher incentives based on this regulation. This is important because in 2023, related to climate changes, because you are all aware that climate changes are affecting all of us, but these are mostly affecting agriculture and also women working in agriculture. Hence, in 2023, we had a decrease of income in raspberries for approximately 20%. We actually gave our best to see an increase of incentives in 20%. We did not manage to get this, however, we managed to make at least the first step to set certain criteria. Also, I have to add that we, in a regional project, I'm talking about Priroda, the Association of Women, together with 3 countries, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, and Macedonia. In Macedonia, a journalist for human rights, then a youth organization from Serbia. In relation to nature, we finished this project by surveying 7, respectively, 8 municipalities in all countries, in total 24 municipalities throughout the countries. And now we are conducting an analysis of these surveys, and these analyses are going to be published. Data are truly worrisome. We are talking about small municipalities on all these countries, underdeveloped or medium developed, and the data are very worrisome in general about people who are unaware and do not understand what gender sensitive budgeting is, women and men, because we interviewed men and women, 70 to 30% ratio, and they actually even do not know how the budget is adopted, and also they do not know, and they are also unaware that they can affect, influence the budget. Also the data show, as I said, we are going to publish all these data in this booklet. Many municipalities we discussed with and were in contact do not feel any need, respectively do not notice how much do climate changes influence on their citizens and how much should they adopt their budgets in relation to the issues caused by the climate change. I have to underline that we have several municipalities, some better municipalities, for example, the strategic plan of the municipality of Srebrenica, who in this period to 24 to 30 have adopted a strategic plan, and they have listed climate changes as an issue which has to be responded by the budget. However, they do not have regulation on incentives in gender sensitive budgeting, so everything has to be harmonized at the local level until we do not see an amendment of the law of having budget lines, whereby then we could be influencing a lot more in having more gender sensitive budgeting. However, so far we have to work on the way we have and how we can do it in adopting local policies which could help in responding to transparency of the authorities in relation to certain crises. In this case, as we are talking about climate changes as an issue, and which is mostly affecting women in different domains of life, coming from health, etc. But we mostly focused on the economic empowerment of women, in this case agriculture and agribusinesses, which are highly affected by this crisis. I don't know if I was clear enough in explaining and clarifying what were our most important results. Of course, I stand at your disposal to respond to your questions. I hope that I will be able to stick with you for a bit more because I'm very sick, as I said, but I truly am very glad that we could see each other now and discuss about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Juliana, very much for presenting, and also despite being sick. So I think we have a question from Slavica.
Tako je, dobar dan i od mene.
Yes, greetings from my side as well. My name is Slavica Strikovic, Association Ženske Akcije from Montenegro, and we are the national coordinator for this program in Montenegro. And a special greetings for Željena. I feel bad for you. Your story, as always, to me was very interesting, and I have a question for you. If you already clarified it, I would like to apologize, but I think it would not be bad to hear it once again. You were talking about that in some municipalities, if I remembered it rightly, regulation on gender-sensitive budgeting in agriculture, respectively. In this regulation, women have specific subsidies in agriculture, and that they are also privileged in a sense when registering farms. Now, I would like to know, how did you manage to do this, respectively? I believe that through some kind of advocating, but what are the local bodies who adopted these regulations? Were they the mayors or some other local offices? Thank you very much, Slavica. I'm very glad to see you, at least even like this, virtually. The regulation, it is a regulation on agricultural incentives. In fact, it is harmonized because we work and are part of Republika Srpska Ministry of Agriculture of Republika Srpska adopts regulation every year on agricultural incentives at the republic level. At the local level, we have asked for adopting regulations on agricultural incentives at the local level, and then from this budget line for agricultural development to know how these funds are allocated. Hence, this regulation, in fact, at the end is adopted by the mayor, that is the authority signing it, and it is drafted by the agricultural department, depending on the title of such a department in the municipality. So what we did is that we presented this project to the mayor, and then asked for establishing a work group where we would also sit as a member to it. In this case, work group had representatives from the agricultural department or department of economy, and also cooperation with NGOs, general administration as well. I think that in one municipality, in Bratunac, we had 6 to 7 members of the work group, and in Vlasenica as well. And because, regardless to everything, we have to respect this profession, and we are not agricultural engineers, and we do not work in allocating funds. Hence, together with these departments, people who work in the municipal administration in this domain, and us from the project, and we also had some, I would say, some people with some certain political influence. So in Bratunac, we adopted a new regulation. There was no regulation at all, while in Vlasenica, we amended it with this gender-sensitive budgeting. And then we went, I have to say that by this we have finished our half of the job. This regulation can be adopted by the mayor, sign it, and in this case then some kind of campaign has to be organized to advocate for this with council members if it has to be adopted at the municipal council level. However, if it is not adopted by the council, it is enough for the mayor to sign it and have it applied in allocating such funds from this agricultural budget line. I hope that I answered to your question. Yes, everything was clear. Thank you very much, and I wish you to get better as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So then we can move to the next speaker, that will present us a similar topic, the organization EcoVisio from Moldova, that also works on different areas, including climate action, waste management, agri-food systems, social entrepreneurship, community development, and education. And Julia will present the research that they did that successfully identified the structural barriers women face in accessing financial resources and provided actionable recommendations for inclusive agricultural policies. So Julia, the floor is yours. If you could.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. You can also share the screen if you have the slides.
Okay. Yeah, I will try to be as specific and short as possible. Let me full screen. Yeah, that was the name of our project, Gender Inequalities and Access to Finance in Agriculture. In this project, we analyze, we have few objectives to analyze the causes of gender inequalities in access to financing in the agricultural sector, and formulating recommendations for more inclusive policies and programs. We worked with policymakers and decision makers, especially we analyzed their work mostly. Policy decision makers from Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Environment, also as with NGOs, farmers associations, and donors. Some of the something about our context. We have women in our country own only 90% of agricultural land, and their holdings are mostly 30% smaller than men's. They are concentrated in a low value-added activities, and less are presented in decision-making positions. And we tried to figure out why. We analyzed a national strategy for agricultural and rural development and national climate change adaptation programs and the national program action plan. This documented we tried to analyze. What did we find in about gender topic in these documents? Here I mentioned two organizations, Agricultural Agency and AIPA and IFAD. These organizations are offer grants specifically from the part of the government. They manages the national and international funds for agricultural development. And here I put some data about beneficiaries. And as you can see, it's AIPA side in 3 years, we saw 4,000 beneficiaries are men and under 20% just women. It's around 800 person per year. This data is per year, so you can count it's like in 3 years. And IFAD is more specific orientated on programs and grants for women, but they reached to cover like 818 women in 3 years. Again, in comparison with AIPA, it's very small numbers of women, in spite of the fact that they are orientated on women grants. They reach a really low number of women's farmers. We organized a focus group with women where we asked them as they see the situation and why they are not applying on the programs offered, because it's huge amount of monies and capacity of organizations are thousands of grants. And we discovered few interesting opinions. They really most of them really don't think we have a problem and they don't think they are discriminated somehow. And we needed to apply additional efforts to find what is the problem. Few problems I mentioned here. It's different type of legal entities. Like most women are having small lots of parts of a land, and what are easier to manage. And another cause, it's complexity of application process. The women by themselves told us in the focus group that they prefer to send their husbands or men to go through all this registration process and application processes because they don't really have time to invest in grants, in programs, in trainings. And especially we have one of these some NGOs that offer grants for women farmers, and as a condition to apply, you need to pass training for a week, for example. Sometimes it's like empowerment for farmers before you can access the grant, and these trainings are organized in the capital of the country, and mostly women from rural areas can afford to come for a week for a training to access a grant because they have kids, jobs, and they mostly taking care of their land. And they send men, so the men are mostly passing these trainings, these capacity building programs, and accessing the grants. And this is one of the problems we identified, and we realized that women are not aware of that problem, that they're making this unconsciously, sending their men to pass on these programs and access these grants. We find gender gaps in access to agricultural resources and services, informational materials. They have these barriers, and one of another reasons or barrier we identified in women accessing the grants is mostly if you're addressing in some banks for accreditation, they offer you a consultant which will offer you like advices which equipment or which equipment you need to buy. This story we heard from one woman. And she wasn't agree with this consultant. Somehow she has another vision of which machinery she needs for her farm, and she quit it because she didn't have enough power to talk to this bank representative. And this is another reason, like unconsciously passed through this process, and we identified low levels of awareness and information regarding the fundings. Another problem of our financial organization or institutions, that how they making this promotion of their grants. They like usually post on their sites, and sometimes sending to local public administration in hope that the local public administration will reach somehow farmers to explain and to inform which is not happening so effectively. And this information just are not reaching women farmers. And insufficient integration of gender dimension in agricultural policies and programs, because in that three documents we analyzed, we observed that some indicators are included, and somehow they proposed to analyze the gender situation and women beneficiaries, but they didn't mention how they're going to make that and how they're going to contribute to problem we have now. So it's insufficient information, integrated or specific actions in those documents. And as a result, we came with recommendations for this mostly donors and organizations, Ministry of Agriculture and Environment. And we made 2 types of recommendations on the level of policies and programs, and exactly to integrate gender equality objectives and measures into national program with gender disaggregated indicators. And yeah, that one I forgot to mention. It was difficult really to find information about beneficiaries of these programs. So we needed to make some additional effort to find, because it's not accessible on their sites. It's not really easily open to find information about who are the really beneficiaries of from farmers. And there is a part of information that they're not really counting, not pay a lot of attention, these organizations. Yeah, we recommend to diversify subsidy and grant schemes dedicated to women farmers with specific allocations, and which somehow will take care of the specific needs of women and take in consideration their social context in which they live. Adjust eligibility criteria for agricultural subsidies. One more problem we identified, that as I mentioned, women mostly have smaller land for their farms, and they are mostly not registered officially. So in that moment, you can apply for some grants if you are not registered as a company. So I think they need to pay attention to that topic as well. Yeah, and recommendations at the implementation level, targeted information campaign for rural women, because they somehow told that they visit this organization or representative of AIPA and IFAT, they visit every region, try to visit, but mostly the same people came every year on these meetings. So they need to try to reach more farmers in these regions, because they made once a year a visit in every region. Yeah, and I think the ones who already knows about them, the ones come every year around, and they didn't reach a lot of new new farmers every year. Technical assistance and mentoring programs accessible for women farmers, because if they can reach these trainings or informative sessions, which are mostly offline and far from their location, more online maybe sessions or assistant will help women to reach and to process their to reach this application grants, and to figure out how to apply, how to write a project. Yeah, to help them register their households, and so a little bit of strengthening of capacities of workers of these organizations, and collecting, analyzing, and reporting gender disaggregated data, because it's not now very practiced and integrated, and they need to be instructed and more aware when they maybe select potential grantees, and they offering grants, and then they making calls for farmers to pay more attention, maybe some indicators, how many women are involved in that process, and they need additional effort, of course, for reaching that women. But I think firstly they need to be aware of that problem and be instructed by themselves. Yeah, if you have questions, I try to be shortly and clear. I think it was clear. Thank you.
Imam samo komentar, ako može.
I only have one comment, if allowed, a very brief comment.
Yes, I have a question to Julia. What is the biggest barrier women farmers face in accessing agricultural finance in the Republic of Moldova? The biggest one, the main problem.
Say the main problem there that they doesn't realize they do have a problem. So they like somehow we met a lot of resistance from the women when tried to figure out what is your need and your problem. And from my opinion, first step for resolving the problem, you need to be aware of that.
Okay, thank you.
There was another question from someone.
Yeah, there was another comment. I don't know who spoke before Alexander did.
Anka
had a
je
comment.
imala komentar, kratak.
And there was a very brief comment.
Je li može?
Can I?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Kad je u pitanju poljoprivredna proizvodnja,
When
čini mi
talking
se
about
da
agricultural
imamo
production, I
slične
think that
probleme.
we
Recimo,
have
u Nikšićkoj
similar
opštini
issues.
za
For example, in
2023.
municipality of Nikšić,
godinu
for 2023,
opredeljeno je za podsticaj poljoprivredne proizvodnje
for
60.000
agricultural
eura,
production,
a
66,000
realizovano
euros
samo
were allocated,
8.000.
while
Tako
only
da imamo negde
8,000
slične
were
probleme
in
kako
fact
motivisati
provided.
žene
So
koje su
there is an issue how
nezaposlene,
to
koje
motivate
imaju
women who are
ekonomske i finansijske
unemployed
probleme,
and have
da
economic and financial
uzmu ta
problems
sredstva.
to
Eto tako.
apply and receive such funds.
Zahvaljujem.
Thank you.
I didn't realize the question. If there is somehow, how can we motivate this woman to apply? This was the question.
Yes, it was the question
Više je
how to
bila forma
motivate them.
komentara
It was
i
more a
negdje, da kažemo,
comment, not a
zajednička rješenja
question,
kako
and
motivisati žene
trying to
da
find
koriste postojeća
a
sredstva
joint solution how
opredeljena
to
za razvoj
motivate
poljoprivredne
women to
proizvodnje.
apply for these funds which
Jer
are
i mi u Crnoj
allocated for
Gori imamo slične
agricultural
probleme.
production, because we in Montenegro also face similar issues.
Yeah, I think I will respond if it wasn't a question, but my fault. Our principles of work in EcoVisio with different types of beneficiaries, but I observe the same instrument. Maybe we need to be as close to human needs as possible. And for example, as I told, if we know these women are hard to reach somehow through traditional informational methods, we need to find alternatives. We need to find the spaces where they are, I don't know, spending their time and which are their interests. And maybe they are not aware, but if you came to discussions, because often at least here, we expect the beneficiaries will come in our city, in our organization, but we need as much as possible to go in their rural areas, to be near them, to see their reality, and it will help us to understand their needs and their visions. And through that perspective, we can resolve the problem because it helped me a lot to really see the life from people points of view, from their household to their localities, and which helped to understand what I can offer them to maybe raise some interest. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you, Julia. There is a lot to go for, but you are doing a great job. So next speaker, I would like to invite the NGO Mosaic Nikšić, that is an organization from Montenegro that works in the long term on defending and advocating for the rights of people with disabilities. So Anka, if you could tell us how is your advocacy going and what were the main findings of the research that you have done? Floor is yours.
Zahvaljujem, Anka Vukićević, NVO Mozaik,
Thank you,
Nikšić,
Anka
Crna
Vukicevic.
Gora.
NGO Mosaic, Nikšić, Montenegro. Before starting, I also announced that I'm ending my end of work time from the vehicle because we have to leave our offices at a certain hour. Look, we had excellent cooperation with our donors, and we are very happy as to the way how the network is empowering the capacities of women, especially our target groups, respectively, our women with our project was titled, I lost her. Gender equality and participation of women with disabilities in decision making. Also, in the project, we empowered capacities of the employed in local municipality in drafting the budget of the local authorities. Within this project, we have provided for us, and I believe also for all of us, for us in the association as well, all of us in general, an analysis of the local administration budget for municipality of Nikšić. And what I had the opportunity to hear from the colleagues, we all face the same issues when talking about budgeting. Usually they call it gender neutral budget. Such budgets do not exist, nor these budgets should be drafted in that way. Hence, we gave our best to amend the decision makers' awareness, influence, that from the budget line it could be very clearly understood how and in what manner did they support vulnerable groups in the municipality of Nikšić. I will be stressing out several items. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
Thank you. Ja ću izdaći samo par
I shall be stressing only several items that the priority for financing NGOs in 2023, 30,000 euros were allocated for tourism, spatial planning. However, from the response of the local authority, we did not get data which NGOs were financed. Were there any NGOs for the disabled? Are these NGOs headed by women? And what was the most important thing? Spatial planning, if allocated funds were allocated for removing different barriers and adopting the environment for people with disabilities. Also, related to women entrepreneurship, funds were allocated to 17 women, but then again, we still did not receive any data if there were only women with disabilities among them. Also, subsidies for food production, 60,000 allocated, while only 8,000 were in fact funded. Such a large percentage of unallocated funds might make you think about, respectively, decision makers and politicians, how to give more incentives to our women citizens to use these funds. Also, in relation to IVF, 11 users. Then the families with diabetic children, 5 beneficiaries, and then also for the Association for Children and Association of the Blind also received funds also within this project. These educations were very interesting for me, and the atmosphere at these educations were very interesting. among the employed in the municipality, there was only one woman who has had such training about gender budgeting, while the rest were unaware of this. However, with education, we understood that with them we are gaining new allies. We have established a support team within the system, and today, in relation to anything we need about this topic, we can address these women who have attended our trainings. Also, when talking about people with disabilities, although this was not planned with our project activities, we have conducted research among the members of our association, and all 20 respondents have shown interest in advocating and promoting the rights of women with disabilities, being it economic empowering, informal education, accessibility of health, then protection in domestic violence, and providing legal resolutions for persons related to persons with disabilities and general participation in the society. This survey among our members is serving to us as a path what to do in the future, how to develop our organization, and what projects should be given priority. We are this year are very happy for receiving another new project, which in a sense will be a continuation of the previous one, where we are going to work on empowering women with disabilities when talking about climate change. And I once again have to share another information with all of you. Our national coordinator, our friend Slavica, this year was appointed member of the work group in drafting the local action plan for gender equality, and I am sure that she in her work will definitely implement everything about we spoke. And in the new project, we are making our network bigger by including 10 offices from Republic of Serbia, 6 from Bosnia and Herzegovina, who are member of the Association of Cerebral Paralysis in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and us from Montenegro as well. So our very strong network and even greater strength of gender equality and the topic of gender budgeting and increasing resilience. This is the interpreter speaking. I think we lost the lady.
Are there any questions, comments?
To comment on this. I mean, it's a comment, not a question necessarily. Thank you, Anka. I think that in the work that we do with gender responsive budgeting, Anka has mentioned something that's crucial to the work in this. When we were as the GBWN visiting Ireland and discussing their budgets and their form of gender responsive budgeting, they have said to us, I think Slavica was there with me as well. They told us we call it equality budgeting, not gender responsive budgeting, but equality budgeting, which makes sense with the things that Anka has said. We sometimes forget in our perception of these things as very simple, as very marginalized versus non-marginalized group. We don't see the nuances to the marginalization, which means that we often disregard persons with disabilities. We disregard different categories of women inside the budgets and so on. And I think that the work that Anka and Mosaic do is very, very important in this sense. And I'm very happy that we have so many organizations that are also working on other things other than specifically and only gender equality, but they use gender equality as a tool to help mitigate the consequences of marginalization on other levels and so on. So thank you, Anka, once again.
Hvala, Mersiha.
Thank you, Mersiha.
Thank you, Anka. I think this is also a very important intersectional approach that we as a network are bringing. And also you are a great example of an organization that received first a national grant and then managed to create a consortium and now will be implementing the regional grant. So we really look forward to see the results of more of your work. And so the next speaker will be the organization from Kosovo, Mitrovica Women's Association for Human Rights, which is a multi-ethnic CSOs that advocates for women rights and promotes gender equality. So I would like to invite Vetone to tell us about their work.
Oops.
Hello to everybody. Excuse me, I had a little bit of technical problems. I cannot hear Vetone.
Vetone, you're muted. You have the mic. No? I can. There you go.
Finally. I was facing some technical difficulties. Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to share my work with you and my experience. And I'm happy to hear your experiences so we can learn from each other. Our organization, in fact, has several years working on responsive gender budgeting. Initially, it was a secondary activity. Now, last year, it's our initial activity. One of our activities is that we monitor the City Council of the Mitrovica South Municipality, and we monitor the meetings, public meetings for budgeting of the municipality. So every year in June, July, we are present in these public meetings. This year, we have the project of gender budgeting as a transformation tool for municipalities. And the aim of this project is to monitor, or as I would like to say, analyze the gender budgeting in municipality of Mitrovica and how it is implemented and how the budget is allocated regarding this sphere. So we identified and analyzed the allocation of the budget regarding the subventions, grants, and social assistance and other services that are distributed by specific directories. Then we analyze the number of men and women that have benefited from different programs, then ensuring that the systems, institutional systems include a gender budgeting process, then the recommendations for improvement of programs for the sectors and gender responsive budgeting. We have monitored certain directorates, municipal directorates, and gave our recommendations. And in the end, we have a project on raising awareness. It was in two phases. The first phase included meetings with women, which meetings were 6 in number. Since we are a multi-ethnic organization, and we always try to include all the ethnicities that live in Mitrovica. This time, Serbian women were absent because of the political problems. All the other ethnic groups participated. More than 135 women participated in these meetings, and they were important because during the meetings we came to knowledge that women have a little knowledge about municipal budgeting and gender-related budgeting. The other issue was that we had to explain them about gender budgeting, because whenever we speak about gender budgeting, they mean that giving the budget to women and not to men. And we have to explain them this is equality in budgeting. In our other meetings with women, we have organized informational sessions with municipal directorates that were involved. Agricultural directory, public administration, social welfare, budgeting and finances, youth and culture, and employment directorate. We chose these directorates because they mainly allocate budgets for activity financing, project financing, or some subsidiaries for certain individuals. The women present in these meetings, 20 to 29 women and men. The meetings were conducted mainly by the directors. They would present their work, and I want to share a detail with you. We have a very good communication with public administrators, maybe because we work with the municipality for a long time, but mainly they have communication with the civil society organizations. And the directors agreed to present for the entire 2024 in January, and for 2023, and January, July 2024, they shared information of how they supported men and women through subsidiaries, grants, student loans, and they explained how they supported women farmers, where the criteria are a little bit harsher. And they try to help women in every way they can. So we looked at the criteria of the support of patients and marginalized groups of categories of citizens, homeless peoples after the heavy rainfall in Mitrovica, especially in Roma settlements and Bosniak settlements. And normally in these neighborhoods, the consequences are faced mainly by women because they have to secure food, hygienic means to counter these floods. The municipality has helped the citizens a lot in these situations with accommodation, with renovation of their houses, and with supplying these houses with kitchen appliances and other appliances, and they were very thankful to the municipality for their help. Then we were very interested because in Mitrovica we have a case of a big number touched by cancer, and we were interested how much help do they get. Then we were interested on how the youth is assisted in their capacity building and professional building through employment and other measures. And as a conclusion from these meetings that we have organized, we can say that by referring to the data that we collected during these meetings, we can say that the municipality of Mitrovica has gender budgeting in some manner, but mainly addressing emergency situations and priorities. But there is no total implementation of gender budgeting. Later on, I can share a table with you about the numbers. I can say that there is no certain or specific engagement about gender budgeting, but it goes through fulfilling the municipal priorities, which is a good aspect. Gender budgeting is respected whenever the situation allows that, by giving subventions in an equal manner. Also, the data show that women are favorized in many cases. For example, when we speak about scholarships or subventions or subsidiaries in agriculture, where it is the contrary, where men are more favorized. And here the main problem is the law, since it requires that women should have a certain property, to apply for these funds, or to have a tractor or driving permit, and most of the women did not have any of these and could not access the grants. Our problem is that most of our women do not have property on their name. In fact, we have foreseen to work more actively. It's not foreseen in the project, in fact, but we thought reasonable to all this information, to collect all of this information in a report that I've been working on, which we shared with the public administration, with municipal directorates. We shared it with the CSOs and through our social networks. Maybe it's good if I give you a good example of our achievement. Past year, when we worked on the project, we asked from the directorates, although it's their obligation, to present their achievements or dispersion of their budgets in a numerical table. And we shared with them our table that we produced with the help of the network, GBWN, and it is positive that this year they accepted those tables because they thought that this table is very practical, very good for their work. I did not prepare my presentation earlier. This is the table I was talking about. And now the data is full, and thanks to the directorates, they included the first quarter of 2025 and 2026, and we can collect data on how they do the budget dispersion for men and women. In every directorate where we had presentation of their work in front of up to 29 participants, we have presented the recommendations that came out from these meetings. And in fact, when we presented these recommendations, we made a comparison of the data with 2023, and we saw that there is improvement compared to 2022, and I think that we have achieved to raise the awareness amongst the women that took part in our meetings. And sorry, I messed up something. Meaning, in reality, in the last meeting that we organized with the Directorate for Financing and Budgeting. The director of this directorate presented their work. And she spoke about the public meetings, consultational meetings for budgeting, and thanks to that, 53 women participated in this public debate. Entrepreneur women, and as a recommendation from our part was that the Directorate for Budgeting and Financing to create a close partnership with the women associations to coordinate the date and the time of these public debates to allow more women and girls participation. And we did this because in these public debate meetings, in some years, there were only 2 women monitoring, which was me and my colleague. Last year, we mobilized ourselves and maybe were 25 women invited to this public debate. And during the organization of these meetings, we have listed the needs of the women, and we have shared this list with the Department for Budgeting and Finances and the Office for Gender Equality, and we will see that how well will they perform in fulfilling some of these requests and needs. This year, more than 30 women participated in this public debate, thanks to the CSO organizations. This was our request to include more women CSOs if they want to share the information with more women and to get more requests and needs of the women that should be incorporated in the forthcoming budget. Another problem that I've mentioned as a recommendation, this year's summer was very hot and the meetings were mainly held in 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which made impossible to participate. We requested to the authorities to organize these meetings in the late hours of the afternoons, but this was not fulfilled. This is mainly what I thought of sharing with you.
Thank you, Bratunac, for a very detailed overview of what everything is going on. So is there some small comment, question, something short for Bratunac? We still have 3 presentations to go. So if there is some question, you can ask. If not, then we can move to a next speaker. That will be the Women's Association of the Kolubara district from Serbia, and they are also working on advocacy for gender equality. And the research they did will present how gender equality can be integrated in traditionally male-dominated sectors, such as crisis management and emergency planning. So, Jelena, if you could come up and share your findings.
Hvala mnogo, dobar dan svima.
Thank you very much. Greetings to all of you.
Okay.
It is my great pleasure truly to be here today with you and having the opportunity to hear these extraordinary stories, what was all done in our country and in the countries in the surroundings. My name is Jelena from the district of Kolubara, or the acronym ŽUKO. We deal with gender equality in the rural area of Serbia. And the project I will be introducing to you today is, and actually excellent introduction was done from the beginning.
Nekako je proizašla iz te jasne potrebe,
clear need, respectively.
Prosto zbog toga što krizne situacije, bilo da pričamo o prirodnim katastrofama, pandemijama ili ne znam, ekonomskim krizama, ne utiču podjednako na sve ljude na isti način. Naše dosadašnje iskustvo kao i istraživanje u stvari pokazalo je da žene, a naročito oni iz ruralnog područja, često vidljive u kriznim situacijama i da su njihove specifične potrebe, poput recimo pristupa resursima, stvaranja osjećaja sigurnosti i te psihološke podrške, često nisu...
Jelena, sorry, can I just interrupt you? There is some problem with the Albanian translation.
Imamo problem sa prevodom na albanski, izgleda.
Is it working now? Okay, now it works. Okay, perfect. You can go ahead. Sorry.
Mislila sam da pričam brzo, inače pričam brzo, pa sam
I thought that this is the remark from the interpreter saying, talking that I am too fast, but no, in fact, it is very clear. Crisis situations remain invisible and set to aside, and simply there is no gender perspective when dealing with this topic. And with this reality in mind, we started implementing the project with the goal to increase resilience of local communities by integrating a gender perspective in the crisis management. Now, the first step in this was the analysis of the legislative and strategic framework, and always when I talk about this, I say that Serbia has excellent legislative and strategic framework. Of course, now we have to have in mind that not the law we all mentioned as very important, the law on gender equality and strategy as well are currently suspended. However, Serbia also has this duty of introducing gender responsive budgeting stemming out from the law on budget system. On the other hand, when we come to the implementation, then we face issues. Implementation, now I'm talking about my standpoint in relation to implementing gender responsive budgeting in Serbia. When this was brought to local, we faced problems because we just recently moved to program budgeting and we still do not have the awareness of the employed in local self-governance institutions, but also budget users, that in fact they all together work on implementing set budgetary goals. And when I work with local self-governments, especially when I talk to beneficiaries and especially indirect beneficiaries, I come to the conclusion that these people do not recognize their role at all in this system. When we talk about local action plans, mainly they do not participate in drafting them. These local action plans are simply just reproduced, copy-pasted from one to another local self-government by not involving relevant actors in drafting them. And then those persons who should be the holders of all of these are actually unaware of the existence, nor that they should be implementing some activities from the document. And local action plans such as the protection and search and rescue very rarely take into consideration the gender perspective or gender sensitive elements. Hence, after the analysis conducted, being it national or local, we implemented a great survey into Pola, Lazarevac, and Mionica municipalities, and we talked to women in these communities, and through questionnaires we received 400 answers, and their responses were more or less similar, respectively. In crisis situations, they mainly face insecurity. They recognize the lack of such adopted shelters, lack of services which are directly for them, and what is the most important thing recognized is that there is no access to psychological support. And I'm coming from a region which in 2014 was heavily flooded. For me, at that moment, as a woman who at that time was also pregnant and had an entire set of covered an entire set of unpaid jobs. It was the thing was that aid was constantly coming, but I had the feeling that somebody missed the essence, that in these 10 days when the water was stopped because all the wells were becoming dirty, etc., you do not need any detergents or anything else for cleaning, because I do not have water. I have greater need for paper utensils, knives, forks, etc., etc. And with my personal experience and experience of women from my surrounding and the women we surveyed, it was very clear that there is a problem. Hence, after this research, we had some data which provided more insight into how the system potentially could be advanced, and based on this research we started conducting some resolutions. We organized trainings for municipalities, sector for emergency situations and civil protection, and at these trainings participants were trained about the importance of gender perspective and how in practice, in planning and budgeting to implement the knowledge they receive in training. We focused on topics such as gender responsive, introducing gender perspective in existing and new documentation, providing support to women during crisis. Now, what is the issue? The issue is that most of us in Serbia, in fact, we know this, and I'm pretty sure in the countries in the region as well. We have elections constantly. We have elections almost every year, and there is an issue of constant changes of decision makers, and work with decision makers, in a sense, it turns out that should not be our focus. Yes, they are at those decision-making places, and should be the one which takes the share to water on the other side and saying yes or no. But in essence, these people are very often and easily changed. That the moment you establish some ties with somebody, you reach the issue of why gender-responsive budgeting is important, and understanding the entire process, then you face the next moment the situation that this person who was your contact point is not part of that local self-government anymore. I think that we, at the level of Serbia, we missed first this program budgeting and understanding the goals and indicators, and then when we came to goods, we confused them even more because they did not understand even this, but they were just going along the lines of the ministries. So even today they are facing this moment that they are convinced that goals cannot be changed at the level of programs. They believe that it would be the best that the ministry sends them some kind of instructions how to do it as it is written, and simply said, they do not have the broader sense that they have to brainstorm the needs of people in their communities. We have provided recommendations to them, and very concrete recommendations as to potential drafting of new goals at the level of program goals, and also cross-section, intersecting them, how to, with the funds they have at their disposal, to cover more goals with more budget programs, considering that we are all aware that stronger political will in some domains, and then you would be able to
ja ne mogu da kažem jako je ružno, kao nije to agenda,
I cannot say, but
najbolja moguća
it is not an
preporuka
agenda, but simply the best possible recommendation for the benefit of the community to manage to
na krizne situacije, a negde prosto smatraju da to trenutno nije prioritet i neće ni biti do nove katastrofe. Tako da, sad iz ove perspektive, kada gledam, mislim da je zaista potreban dodatan rad, posebno unutar ovog sektora u kojem smo mi radili. Postoji veliko razumevanje ljudi koji su direktno u sistemu spasavanja.
Punsuar na sistemin e shpëtim kërkimit që ndërkohë është punuar shumë në barazin gjinore në sektoret e tyre.
Ali mislim da nekako i dalje su nam ključne, u Srbiji i dalje najključnije to.
In Serbia, the most important is still that
na čelu tog tima se nalaze predsjednici opština i nekako oni su ti koji vode timove u kriznih situacija.
Të dihet se kryetarët e komunave janë ata që udhëheqin me situatat e krizave.
Thank you, Jelena. Are there some questions,
comments? Jelena.
Maybe I would like to ask, what are your advocacy goals next after implementing the project? What are you planning to do further with the findings and the trainings that you did and the results that you have?
Da, mislim da bi nekako bilo ključno.
Yes, I think that it will be key. People who did not deal with this sector did not have in mind that women have a specific perspective when talking about their community. Women are very well aware who lives in their community, who are the people who require specific approach. Persons with disabilities, elderly, those who live in elderly houses, and they have greater insight into the needs of the community compared to the male. And it would be key in the future to deal more with our local boroughs. There is a person in charge, being a contact point in crisis, and in essence it would be of key importance to advocate about the importance of including women at these local contact points as the first point to be addressed in crisis. Hence, I think that in a sense, whenever we lobby for any topic, we have to begin from the lowest point, because if it starts to work at the local level, then it will be more visible to decision makers as well.
Thank you very much, Jelena. And then we can move to our next speaker. That will be the organization, the Women's Forum Elbasan, that is working on removing structural barriers women face, also in the financial resources, and they are working also on inclusive and social economic policies. So Mirela, the floor is yours to present.
Përshëndetje të gjithëve, në fakt është kënaqësi që të shikoj.
Hi everybody, it's a pleasure that I see all friends and new colleagues.
Në fakt, Forumi Gruas Elbasan ka
In
realizuar një
fact, Women Forum Elbasan has realized a study in the frame of our project, but differently from the first study that was concentrated only in Elbasan. The second study had included the 7 municipalities in the Elbasan county.
Bashkia Elbasan është bashkia e parë në Shqipëri që ka
Municipality
implementuar
of Elbasan
buxhetimin
is
me
the first
pjesëmarrje
municipality
në vitin
in
2004.
Elbasan that has implemented the gender budgeting in 2004.
Dhe ndërkohë ka implementuar
And
buxhetimin e përgjegjshëm gjinor në 2009.
and in the meanwhile has implemented the gender budgeting in 2009.
Dy bashki njohin pak buxhetimin e përgjegjshëm gjinor, që ishte
Two of
bashkia
the
Gram dhe Cerrik.
municipalities has little knowledge of gender responsive
Dhe katër
budgeting,
bashkitë e
which was
tjera, pjesë
Grams
të
and
projektit
Zurich,
edhe studimit,
and the
nuk kanë
other
implementuar
four
asnjëherë buxhetimin
municipalities
gjinor
that
apo
were part of
buxhetimin e pjesëmarrjes.
the study have never implemented gender responsive budgeting.
Studimi ka dy pjesë ku është fokusuar
The
analizën e
study has
të politikave
two
dhe programeve.
parts. The first one is the analysis and evaluation of the policies and implemented programs.
Dhe pjesa e dytë, analiza dhe
And the
vlerësimi i
second
buxhetit.
part is analysis and evaluation of the budget.
Dhe për secilën nga pjesë janë marrë ekspertë të fushës, të
And
cilët
for
janë
every part,
në gjendje të si të
experts
vlerësojnë dhe
were
të analizojnë
invited
buxhetet.
to analyze the budgets of these municipalities.
Pjesa e parë ka të bëjë me
The
të
first
dhënat
part
gjinore të
has to
punojësve në
do
bashkitë,
with the
në të gjithë bashkitë e qarkut e
gender
Elbasan.
data for each municipality of
Edhe
the
nëse
Elbasan
shikojmë,
County.
kemi
And if
kryetar
we look
bashkie
at
meshkuj në të
this,
7 bashkitë e qarkut e
we
Elbasan.
will see that all of the 7 municipalities have male mayors.
Kështu që kemi përveç kryetarit kemi edhe
So
kryetarët që
that
dominojnë në numër.
we have the deputy mayors that are dominant in number as male.
Kemi gjithashtu drejtuesit e lartë, drejtorët e përgjithshëm të cilët përsëri dominohen nga
So
meshkujt.
we have also the general directors dominated by male representatives.
Kemi kryetarët e këshillave bashkiake që janë 6 janë meshkuj dhe vetëm 1 është femër.
Council presidents are represented by 6 male and 1 female representative.
Sekretarët e këshillave bashkiake
Secretaries of
femra, 5 janë meshkuj.
The city councils, only 2 are female, 5 are male.
Ndërsa kur vjen puna te punojësit, deri diku balancat
When
gjinore
we speak about public administration, the balance is more or less the same. And this speaks about a large gap regarding the gender equality in high
Për sa i përket specialistëve dhe ndarjen e tyre gjinore në çdo bashki, ne kemi marrë fusha
experts
ku ne
and
kemi
their
analizuar më së shumti
gender
programet.
division. We have analyzed programs.
Koordinator vendor të dhunës, ne kemi të gjithë femra.
When we speak about local coordinators against violence, all are female.
Në punëset gjinore nga 7 që duhet të jenë në çdo bashki, në fakt kemi 3 bashki që nuk e kanë, ndërsa bashkitë e tjera janë femra.
Which should be 7, only 3 are female, and some municipalities doesn't have them at all.
Specialistët e mbrojtjes të fëmijëve,
specialists for child protection are 7 women.
Specialistët e moshës së tretë ne kemi vetëm në 3 bashki.
Specialists for the third age we have only in 3 municipalities, and they're all female.
Gjithashtu dhe aftësia e kufizuar. Pra ne shikojmë që për sa i përket
also disabilities we seek regarding the target group of children and all of the social group. Specialists are almost 90 and something % female, which explains bestly the patriarchal mentality in our area, in our county.
Pastaj ne kemi mbledhur dhe statistika për sa i përket
Then we have collected statistics regarding the number of beneficiaries for all municipalities, administrative units, families. But I would like to specify that there is a huge number of women that were
protection order
under the protection order.
Bashkia
which is
Elbasan ka një numër vjetor që shkon tek 226, që është një
which
numër
in
i lartë.
Elbasan is 226, which is a high number.
Por nga ana tjetër Bashkia Elbasan gjithashtu ka
But
një
on the
numër të
other
lartë
side, the municipality of Elbasan
familjeve
has
që
a
fitojnë
large
bonus
number of
sëraje.
families that gain accommodation bonus
Ku pjesa më e
or
madhe
rent
e
bonus,
grave me urdhra mbrojtje janë pjesë e bonusit
where
të krahas që përfitojnë.
the biggest number of these women are the beneficiaries of this rent bonus.
Edhe kjo është një praktik pozitive në fakt
And
që
this is
Bashkia
a
Elbasan,
positive practice that the municipality of Elbasan
por edhe bashkitë e tjera të vogla
and the other
janë
smaller
duke i
municipalities
dhënë një rëndësi të veçantë.
are giving high priority.
Për sa i përket shërbimeve, siç shuhet
Regarding the
kombinon Bashkia
services,
Elbasan me shërbimet për fëmijë, për gra, për moshën e tretë, aftësinë e
they are
këpuar,
dominating in municipality of Elbasan, women, children, elderly.
Shihet që bashkia më e madhe e Elbasanit, e cila në fakt ka
It is
numër më të madh të
obvious that
banorëve,
the
njësitë
biggest
administrative më të
municipality of
mëdha,
Elbasan
dhe siç
that
do
has
shohim
a
edhe më poshtë,
bigger
ka një
number
buxhet
of
shumë më të madh në
inhabitants,
krahasim me
administrative
bashkitë e
units, and
vogla,
has a higher budget compared to the
ka
other
një
smaller
numër të lartë dhe të
municipalities,
larmishëm shërbime
has
sociale
a
për kategorinë
higher
e
and diverse number of social services.
Për sa i përket instrumentave,
regarding the instruments,
plani social të zonës dhe
the
barazisë gjinore,
social zonal plan and the plan for gender equality.
Të gjithë bashkitë i kanë këto plane, përveç
all of the municipalities have these plans,
Peqin dhe Belësh,
as except for the municipality of Peqin and Belsh,
të cilat nuk kanë planin e barazisë gjinore.
That do not have a gender equality plan.
Ajo që do evidentoja këtu,
what I would mention here,
në Shqipëri ne jemi një vend ku
Albania we are a country where the strategic plans, social plans, plans for gender equality
pothuajse i kemi të ndërtuara.
Are already almost built. The only problem that is remaining is their budgeting and implementation.
Kështu që kjo ngelet një sfidë për sa i përket
So this is a challenge that remains for the future.
Për sa i përket pastaj buxheteve,
regarding the budgets,
është pjesa e parë ku është analizuar shërritja të
the first analyzed part is increasing of the total income.
Dhe Bashkia Elbasan ka treguar një trend rritje,
and the municipality of Elbasan has shown a trend of increase from 2019 to 2024.
Edhe kemi një përmirësim të vazhdueshëm financiar.
And we have a continuous financial improvement.
Gjë që është e kundërta e bashkive të tjera,
which is contrary with the other municipalities
të cilat kanë një ulje të
that
buxheteve
have a decrease of budgets instead of increase.
Pika e dytë është pavarësia financiare.
The second topic is financial independence.
Tek pavarësia financiare ne kemi parë që gjatë
when we
periudhës
speak about financial independence, we have seen that during 2022-2023, municipality of Elbasan approximately 29% of its incomes come from their own sources, municipal sources. And this shows a considerable independence from the central budget. So the municipality has more control over its own finances. In the meanwhile, 6 other smaller municipalities are totally dependent on the central budget which enables disables them to create policies.
Gjithashtu rritja e shpenzimeve publike
Also,
duke qenë që Bashkia e
the
Elbasan I ka rritje të
increase
buxhetit
in public spendings or public expenditure. The municipality of Elbasan is leading in this
Kështu që Bashkia e Elbasan ka mundësi të rrisë shpenzimet për
and
mbrojtje
has the
sociale
possibility to increase the expenditure for social welfare
dhe ofrimin e shërbimeve të reja,
and offering new services
të cilat çojnë në përmirësimin e jetës së qytetarëve.
that will improve the living of the daily living of the citizens.
Gjithashtu tendencat pozitive të buxhetit, siç është ajo e Bashkisë Elbasan për vitin 2024,
Also, the positive tendencies of the budget, like the budget of Elbasan for 2024,
që tregon rritje si të
shows
të
an
ardhurave,
increase of the total income
që tregon dhe një menaxhim të mirë të financave dhe
that
ekonomi lokale në rritje.
speaks of good financial management and local economy which is increasing.
Ndërkohë që bashkitë e tjera janë shumë larg kësaj perspektive.
Meanwhile, the other municipalities are very far away from this perspective.
Gjithashtu e fundit është objektivi politikës
And
së
the last
programeve.
one is the objective of program policy.
Në fakt, qëllimi kryesor është të ofrojë
In
kujdes
fact,
social për
the
familjet dhe
main
fëmijët,
goal is to offer social welfare for families and children,
personat me invaliditet
disabled people,
apo personat me fjalë mendim ekonomike.
or people that are dependent on economic assistance,
Që është një gjë pozitive, ndërkohë që në
which is
bashkitë e
very
tjera është e
positive.
kundërta.
Meanwhile, in the smaller municipalities, it is the contrary.
Dy nga sfidat kryesore të cilët
Two of the main
ngelen
challenges that are
për të
remaining
ardhmen
for the future
është që si bashkitë e vogla
is how the small
në
municipalities,
modelin e Bashkisë Elbasan të arrijnë që të
under the
mbledhin sa
model
më
of the
shumë taksa
municipality
lokale
of Elbasan, to achieve collecting more local taxes,
për të pasur një përvarësi edhe një mundësi për të
to have
investuar
an
në shërbime sociale,
advantage and opportunity to invest in social services,
ndërkohë që për sa I përket analizës më specifike, sepse përsëri ne
meanwhile,
kemi thirrur
regarding
këtu,
a more
por
specific
nëse duam të hymë më
analysis,
thellë, të
if we
analizojmë
want to
çështjet
go
gjinore më thellë,
in more details to analyze
kemi
the
nevojë
gender
për më
issue,
shumë të dhëna
we have a need for more data
si në aspektin e programeve sipas gjinisë, ndikimin
regarding
e programeve në përmirësimin e
programs
kushteve dhe shërbimet për të dy gjinit,
and the impact of programs in improving the needs of the two genders, both
që nëse
male
do
and
të
female.
përsërisim studimin në të ardhmen,
And so if we
në të dhëna më të detajuara,
do another study in the future, we will go in more depth regarding the data,
duke inkurajuar bashkitë që të mbledhin këto të dhëna, sepse në fund të ditës janë për
by
benefitin e
encouraging
tyre.
the municipalities to collect this data, because in the end
Se
they
disa nga
are
nuk I ka.
on their own benefit, because the municipalities most of the times do not have this data,
Edhe për të ndihmuar ndërtimin e politikave të drejta për të dy
that
gjinit.
will help to create equal policies for both genders.
Dhe në mbyllje të gjithë këtij studimi, dy gjërat kryesore të cilat
And in conclusion
janë
of
dhe
this
praktika të
study,
mira,
two things that are good practices
që do donim t'i ndanim me kolegët
that
e gjithë
we
rajonit,
would want to share with the colleagues from the region
është që për shkak të këtij lobimi që
is
është bërë si në programin
that
e
because
parë,
of
si
this
projektin e parë dhe në
lobbying
dytë,
in the first and the second project,
ne si Forumi Gruas Elbasan tashmë
we
kemi
as
arritur që të
Women
financohemi
Forum of Elbasan have achieved
nga
to be
5 prej
financed
7 bashkive të qarkut Elbasan.
by 5 of the 7 municipalities of the Elbasan County.
Edhe ne ofrojmë shërbime
and we offer
përshëndimi
services
psikologjik social
for psychological and social
Kemi studio avokatore ku
consultation.
këshillimi për fajsimi ligjor të grave falas në gjykat.
We have free counseling, legislative counseling for women in
Edhe
front of the
shelter
courts,
emergjence për të gjithë gratë që kërkojnë urdhër mbrojtje.
and an emergency shelter for all the women that are under protection orders.
Edhe ky është modeli më i mirë welfare mix
And this is the best welfare mix model,
që është midis privatit edhe publikut, ku bashkohen
which
fondet
is
së
in
bashku
between private and public, where funds come together
për t'i ofruar qytetarëve
to
grave,
offer the citizens and women,
fëmijëve edhe moshës së tretë,
children and elderly that are the most vulnerable groups, more qualitative services and services according to
Dhe
them.
dyta që ne kemi
And the second one,
folur me të gjithë kryetarët e
for
shtatë
which we have
bashkimeve
spoken with all of the mayors of the 7 municipalities of the Elbasan
modeli i
County,
shërbimeve të përqendruara në rang qarku.
is the model of services in the country level or district services.
Që kanë një kosto shumë të lartë, mos të ofrohen të ngrihen në çdo bashki,
For
mundur për bashkitë e vogla.
example, the residential centers that are very costly should not be built in every small municipality, but this could become a district service by joining the budgets of the 7 municipalities.
Ne falenderojmë shumë.
We are very thankful for the donation, for the network, for all the training and support.
Por edhe gjithë me fjalë eksperiencat që kemi ndarë me njëri tjetrin.
We are thankful for all the experience that we have shared together, because in this journey we have learned from each other.
Faleminderit.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mirela. And so because we are running out of time, we'll move directly to the last presentation that we have for today. So last but not least is the Organization Center for Research and Analysis Novus from Macedonia, who is working on greater involvement of young people and also socially excluded people from rural areas and in creating social policies. So I would like to ask Elizaveta if you could give us a short presentation of your achievements.
Sure. Did you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. So first of all, I want to say that we conducted 2 analyses through this project. And I also want to highlight that this was such an important researches because that kind of researches who are addressing issues like how to manage in crisis was never done before in our region. So that is a crucial part of this document, so we can use it also in the future, and we also use it here for to lobby to the local authorities. I will also share in the chat after this. They are public available, so everyone can look through this We have a lot of data collected. So, to address the challenges faced by the women and the most vulnerable groups during crisis, the survey aimed to identify, examine, and analyze the needs and challenges of those groups, focusing on Southeast region, our region. Our goal was to create a truly representative experience, listening to the voice of individuals, form diverse society groups, and each question in the electronic questionnaire and organized focus groups was designed to unlock the lived experience of respondents, whether related to gender, ethnicity, age, education, or monthly income. Every respondent brought their unique story of this research, enriching the analysis and aligning with our primary objectives. We also aimed to conduct in-depth analysis of gender equality policies in the Southeast Planning region during crisis to identify the needs, experience, causes, and consequences faced by the women and the most vulnerable citizens. This approach seeks to equip local authorities the tools to
Ima za cilj da obuhvati organe u jugoistočnom regionu i predstavi najkorisnije mere za smanjenje uticaja troškova života tokom krize. Pokušavamo da postignemo odgovarajuće promene u budžetiranju krizi.
Stable, responsible and empowering program focused on the needs and vulnerabilities of the women and the most disadvantaged citizens. Our was citizens living in rural areas, people with disabilities, identifying and analyzing their needs and challenges during crisis, respondents from marginalized communities, inclusive analysis of the crisis impact on men and women, varying depending on the age and employment levels, inclusion of children and individuals. So the researches was conducted through September and November 2023, and we have a few collection tools like electronic surveys, on-site interviews, structured interviews, and focus groups. On the survey, there was like around 115 respondents. So the key insight is predominant response highlighted the need for financial support and employment opportunities. Opening job opportunities emerged as a crucial need for marginalized groups to achieve economic independence. Financial assistance alongside was identified as a way to alleviate living conditions. The need for education, re-education, and access to education as a form of support reflects a deep awareness of the importance of skills and knowledge in improving employment prospects. Woman, to say like a woman with primary and secondary education, most of them, like around 17%, are unemployed. Financial instability exists, with particular stability among the employment. The income range is like 2001 to 30 dinars. So proposing solutions here was financial assistance, education, clear information, and local level intervention. And women with higher education, 64% of them express high trust in institution, while 36 lack trust due to corruption, nepotism, and discrimination. Women from rural areas faced additional challenges. Proposed solution here was increased transparency, engagement of professionals, educational campaigns, and forming working groups for crisis planning. So the general conclusion was the response of local governments was rated insufficient by 60% of respondents, while 40% demanded professional. Greater transparency, accountability, and community involvement in crisis planning are needed. So primary solutions, like I said before, we have answers for education and training for marginalized groups, support through health and social programs, engagement of local administration for effective crisis management. So statistically highlights 42% of individuals without educations are unemployed, and 58% rely on social assistance or they are unemployed. 34% of women with primary and secondary educations are unemployed, while 66% are employed. Women earnings is like the minimum, and they are most affected by economic instability. Local government response was negatively rated by 60% and positively by 40%. So the other recommendations we came through is field of infrastructures, a road and sewage system construction, introduction of urban transport, and improved access to education and healthcare, formatting of local crisis teams, and introduction of assistance to support marginalized groups, education. In field of education, our recommendation was integration of marginalized groups, active measures through state institution partnerships with civil society organization, and raising public awareness. Recommendations like information campaign, educational and awareness campaign through social media, advertisements, and electronic marketing, forums involving citizens and representatives from all groups. So the other analyze we do was more focused like from the side of institutions. So the key socioeconomic factors was poverty and low income. Individuals with low income and those living in poverty are the most affected during crisis. So that this makes them particularly vulnerable as they lack sufficient resources to protect themselves or recover from crisis. They need education, access to healthcare. So we aim also through interesting fact where local authority, they are also aware for the problems of the marginalized groups, but they also share with us it will be more easy to do something when they will know the people who are in these marginalized groups. So the recommendation from this side was maybe to be conducted from house to house and to know every people from these groups. And I also want to mention from the budgeting side, there was a lot of people who are they answered they didn't know for this concept. They are not sure if they did they know. So that is crucial to be constantly working to promoting these stuffs and people to be informed. Like I said in the beginning, I can share in the chat our analysis. They are public, so if anyone wants to ask me something.
Thank you, Elizaveta. Not sure if there are some more questions or comments. Thank you for the presentation. Yes, all the studies actually are available, so you can access it with everything that was presented. It's all public. The studies that our subgrantees produced, you will find them on our website, which we are still updating, but it will be for sure available there. So thank you very much, everybody, for your time, and I hope you had a great time and got a lot of inspiration. Congratulations to all the organizations for your amazing work that you are doing in gender responsive budgeting. Thank you also to the translators who did an excellent job staying with us for 2 hours. And yeah, so see you next time on our next webinar or also offline gathering. So take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.